Hi, Bonnie. You're muted right now.
Hi, Janine.
Hi.
I sent you a message. I was typing in the wrong email address apparently to be able to join us. I'm so sorry.
I'm glad you're here. If you're more finessed at Zoom, we're trying to get the chat to work. Do you know how we can activate it? Like,
Oh yeah, can you make me a co-host?
all right, how do I do that?
Here, actually, let me click on the three dots in the top right-hand corner and then try to make me a co-host and let's see if I can get the chat going. To all of you who are here, I'm so sorry. I was rapidly signing into all of our Zoom accounts to get the right one.
Yeah. Okay. Sorry. Which three? I'm on a Mac, a computer. Three
So if you
dots in the
hover
upper right
over
corner.
my picture, if you hover over my video and
Oh,
you go
okay.
to the top, there's three little dots. And I think you can say make co-host.
Uh, I feel rather silly, but I have to say that I cannot do that.
Um,
Okay.
let's see. So, okay, I can talk you through it. So go down into the chat area. There are three dots there as well. You see that in the chat box, the three dots?
Okay, everyone. How about that? Hello?
I saw that.
Okay. It was a whole everyone panel and can chat with everyone.
There you
Goodness
go.
me.
And
The
I know we're
settings
going
on
to
Zoom are
probably,
so ridiculous.
I know, and the Zoom always
Okay.
updates stuff. But
Yeah.
I would say also, I know we're going to take some questions live, and probably the best way for you all to submit questions is to use the Q&A button at the bottom.
Mm-hmm.
That'll be easier for us to check. We'll lose track of the comments. So ask your Q&A in the Q&A box at the bottom.
All right. Thanks,
Hi,
Bonnie. Okay. So,
everyone.
and I was talking about I made the free download of our pages, so I can share that link, and that link is in the chat now, so
Yes,
people can
perfect.
refer to that. And okay, sorry.
We're fine.
Now we're on.
We're all banging on all cylinders now. What's that saying?
Yeah. Well, I guess it's a testament of how few Zoom calls I've managed to do in the past few years, and I'm very proud of the fact that I don't do it too often. So it's
Well,
it's
I
a
can't say
different
the
thing for
same
me.
over here. I'm on Zoom quite a lot, so
Yeah. Well, I'm the print person. I make things on paper, and you are the print person, but you make things in pattern and you
that's right.
teach, and that's why we're here. And it's our annual conversation, so it's very nice to see
I
you,
look
Bonnie.
forward to this conversation with you every year.
I always like seeing your background too. You such a beautiful job in your studio there of displaying all sorts of
Thank
appealing
you.
items in the background and your beautiful patterns and
Thank
such.
you.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I'm just zooming in from my home right now because it was minus 33 this morning, so I didn't want to walk into the office.
Minus 33.
Celsius, yeah.
Yeah, my goodness.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So
Well,
let's
it's
talk
really
about
weird
things that
because
keep us warm, hey?
there's an ice storm happening, very cold. And then in the south right now, it's weirdly warm. So it's like 70 degrees here, which is very unusual. I'm in North Carolina and it should be like 30 degrees. So yeah, wild weather.
Yeah. Okay, so we've got all our tech, we're here, we're good. So let's talk about service pattern design because we all love it. Um, I have been working on the next surface pattern design issue, of which you're a
Yes.
contributor, and
Mhm.
there were 994 entries or
Wow.
entrants, and each person submitted between 6 and 9 designs. So I've been spending the past few weeks, months looking at all of that and seeing just a diversity of talent, of different subject matters, of different walks of life of people who are just starting out, some people who have been at it for a long time. It's just so lovely to see the enthusiasm for surface pattern design. And there were
Yeah.
also entries, which I heard up from afterwards when I had to decline the majority because I only have room for 100 portfolios in my magazine. And so obviously with 900 entries, unfortunately I had to decline, a lot of people. And that's not typically my style. I don't like saying no to people. But that being said, I heard back from many people who didn't get in, and they were saying how that was their first effort at making surface pattern design, and they
Wow.
just wanted a place to share it. And so they entered
Wow.
into my guide, and I'm so honored that was the first step that they took.
Wow.
And I didn't really anticipate that people would be using the magazine in that way as sort of like an impetus for getting started. But
Yeah,
I heard from at least 5 people who said like, "Oh, this was my first attempt. I didn't expect to get in, and it was so exciting," and they did it anyway. Um,
that's incredible.
it
And
was lovely.
I got to see the entries as well. And it is so wildly inspirational to see the breadth of work, the different styles. I think you always do a great job of choosing like a really nice variety of approaches and techniques, and it's phenomenal.
Thank you. Well, and thanks for spending the time to look through so many too.
Oh, it's
And
like my
we'll,
happy place. I like
it is.
you
And
snuggle up on the couch with a warm cuppa and dive right
yeah,
in. So
yeah. And we'll save the announcing of who you picked for your scholarship for a bit later because I don't want to announce anybody because then other people want to know. And so we'll just leave that. We'll
we'll
save
just
that
leave
as
it.
a surprise. But
Okay.
you did a lovely job, and some lucky person is going to be one of your new immersion students. So they'll get in. They'll get the information privately. Um, but for now, kind of leading what I was starting to say with seeing people making that first effort with surface design. Um, I think a lot of people come to you and they learn from you how to make those patterns to begin with. Like as a stepping stone, there's so many amazing free training you've done and Skillshare and such that gets people just into the idea that surface pattern design is a possibility. So I was wondering if you could just talk a little bit about, um, I guess, your how you introduce and welcome people into the world of surface pattern design.
Yeah, well, I'd love to know if you all have the same experience in the chat, but there was like a moment in time where everything stopped and it hit me that someone was making patterns and artwork for a living. And that for me was in 2009. I had graduated from business school, married my high school sweetheart, and was working for my mom at her quilt store. And my job was to meet with reps and decide what collections we were going to carry for the store. And I was just walking down the aisle one day with bolts of fabric on both sides of me. And I looked at this very particular motif and I was like, someone's doing this. Like, this is their career. And everything for me just came in alignment in that moment. Like, I was like everything I've ever wanted in my life wrapped up in this beautiful option, right? Except for me, I had like no idea how to get started. I was creative and I sewed a lot, but I was not an artist. I very much regretted going to business school, almost went back to art school. No one was teaching, so there were no online classes about this. And for me, the industry felt very kind of held close to the chest, like very kind of tightly knit and not very open. And so uh but I wanted it. Like I wanted it really badly. So I wallowed in some overwhelm for several months. And then I decided to just start trying to move myself because something around there hit me like, why not me? Like someone is going to be doing this. And so why not me? Might take me a long time, but I actually took it further. Back then I was like, literally, if there's anyone doing what you want to do in the world, then you can do it too. There are people who know how to teach you how to do it. If you want to fly a plane or be a surgeon, right? Like there's ways to learn how to do all of these very specialized tasks. You just have to be willing to learn it. And so I'm like, well, I'm willing to learn. And so I started doing one thing every day that just moved me in the direction of accomplishing this. And it took 2 years. And at the end of 2 years, I signed my first fabric licensing contract with Art Gallery Fabrics, who I've been with ever since 2012. But, my early intention was never to educate. Like, my biggest goal was just to accomplish that, become a fabric designer, right? And then a couple of years later, someone reached out to me wanting me to teach Adobe Illustrator. And I was like, well, yeah, I know it really well. Okay, I'll teach it. But I teach it specific to surface design and the workflow that you need in order to make surface designs. And so that really began my teaching journey, which honestly, I never really saw it coming. But Janine, the stories of students are just remarkable. And so this first time was about 2014. And I started hearing from students, specifically women from all over the world, who had just gotten permission to pursue their creativity and use their creativity in a way that they had really never had permission to do before. And so weeks turned into months, and stories kept pouring in of people like quitting the day job that they didn't like, or being able to work at home with their children. And eventually I started hearing about people whose husbands were able to stop working and they were solely supporting their family from their work and loving it. And so something just shifted in me that it was really my biggest hope was to make this an easier entry for others and teach everything you need to know in order to get up and running with surface design and license your art and not be a starving artist. I don't think I think a starving artist is something that shouldn't even be in our vocabulary anymore. So that's where the immersion course was born. It debuted in 2018. So this is our 6th year and the 3rd edition of the course. And it's remarkable.
Well, I think you've created this environment for service pattern designers, whether they knew about it before you or they've been introduced to it through, this community that you've created. But you speak about this a lot, that there's room for you, that everyone is part of this community, and it's not. I think that's what strikes to me about this realm of creative people, is that they're very generous, and they are happy for other people to receive success, and they're happy for other people to get that in the magazine, or get a licensing deal for fabric, and they're have a genuine love of pattern, and that extends to the success of other people. And I think
Mhm.
you've nurtured that a lot through your course and through how you talk about surface pattern design, that it is something that everyone has access to. And even if it's just as like an aficionado of pattern, if you just admire and love pattern and you want to kind of start to understand a little bit how it's made, like that there's room for that person. And if you want to go all in and make this your career, there's room for that person too. And there's room for lots of people who want to make this a career, because it
Yeah.
is it is something where we can always keep creating more things.
Mhm.
And there might be patterns about, like, ferns. I always think about you and your ferns, right? But all these other people here in this call, maybe some of them have never designed a fern pattern before, and their
Mm.
ferns would look completely different and have their
Yeah.
personality and their perspective and their feelings in it. So I think that's why I love surf pattern design, is because it is just so open. There's just infinite possibilities. There's room for personality. There's room for um, growth as an artist, as a person. So,
Yeah.
but I credit you for really nurturing that aspect of this
Mhm.
community. That it
We
is we're all
we
in it
work
together.
really hard on that. We have a motto, right? That community over competition, and that we are truly better together. And so it does make this community more willing to just share their secrets as well. Like, together we rise. And so is the common like thread that runs through the community, is like support and encouragement and celebration and lifting each other up and telling each other's secrets. And yeah, it's kind of become something on its own, like that I'm in awe of.
Well, I think you're the little spark that made it happen, but but it's because so many like-minded kindred spirits
Yeah.
also enjoy surface pattern and have that feeling of abundance and
Well, you know what?
generosity. So,
You're happy. If you are
mhm.
a surface pattern designer, like you're happy because you know what? Your job is to go gather inspiration, like be in front of the things that inspire you and then make beautiful things and add beauty to the world. And so I was just talking to a student from last year. Her name is Seiko Cisco. And Seiko said that she always thought this would be like a pipe dream, something she would do in 5 or 10 years because she has little tiny children. And she decided to take immersion last year, though. And she said, the thing that I never knew was that the joy that I got from it spilled over into my household. And like, because I'm so joyful and happy, the people around me are different. And she talked about how fun her son has, like coming in to do artwork with her, and that her husband started drawing and he didn't even ever know that he could. And it's kind of contagious. And I actually think there's more to that. Like when we decide to do something that lights us up, it's just this ripple effect of contagious joy. And this, for so many of us, is so fun.
Mhm. I agree that you have a patternful life is a joyful life,
Yeah,
and other people seeing that they'll want it for themselves too, and they can create it. They don't have to just consume it, right? That
that's
they
right.
can be the author and the
Yeah,
artist who puts that out there. Um, so I talked a bit that you're contributing to this next surface pattern design guide, and
yeah.
your
Oh,
expert
yeah.
tips were
We're going to talk about the
about
article.
being, yeah, well, just a bit about being prepared to learn, I
Mm,
guess. So I shared a free download in the chat, and I'll share it with the replay and stuff too, so people can read it. But I just wondered if you could talk a little bit about some of those tips, because
yeah,
ultimately everyone is learning, right? We can go out and learn through experience, but we can also go out and learn through, a course like Immersion.
yeah.
But having a learner mindset, I think, is just important generally as a creative person, that you need to be out there ready for learning. So if you want to share some of your tips, that'd be awesome. I
Yeah.
can share the PDF on screen if you want, or if you want to just riff off of it, that would be fine too.
So earlier today was the first time that I've seen, like if you're listening, I turned this article in via like a Google Doc, right? And so this is the first time I've seen it in layout, and you do such an incredible job. It's so fun for me to see.
Thank you.
So it's beautiful. So why did we even write this article, right? Like, I think that it's so important to remain a student, have a student's mindset. I was just listening to a book this morning that I'm only like in the first chapter of, but it's called The Power to Change. And I'm enjoying it so much. And this one in particular was the difference between a fixed mindset and a growth mindset, and how so many of us have a fixed mindset around different things in our life that we believe because we've been told them, or we've just kind of agreed to it. And a growth mindset is one that's willing to identify things and know that they can change them. And I think that having this position of a student is really like everything that you want in life. Like, success comes by way of knowledge. And when you are hungry for learning, then really the whole world opens up to you. So I love that you had this idea for the article, Janine. Yeah, so there's 10 things. Let's pick which ones do you guys want to talk about the most? Number one is a huge one: invest in yourself. I think that this takes believing in yourself, believing that you can do something. But I think about investing in ourselves in a pretty particular way. Like, I invest in my own education more year after year, and it's sometimes it's a lot. And also, it's the number one thing that I can contribute to my success and growth. And so I also know it to be true that if we invest in ourselves, then we're more committed to doing the work. We're more committed to showing up. I mean, we're talking about the immersion course, and I have given the course away to just a handful of people, and I don't think anyone has ever done it who I've given it to. Doesn't that just go to show like how when we have a little bit of skin in the game, we really are committed and showing up. And so I think that that's one reason why we have so many success stories and such a high completion rate on this course, because people are invested and they come in committed and willing to do the work. And so investing in ourselves, I think it's almost like a way to really get ourselves to commit to doing the work as well.
Mm-hmm.
Consistency is a huge one. So we always talk about how much time do I need to contribute to learning this XYZ, right? And I actually think it's less about time and more about a consistent effort, meaning a habit made to approach the progress on a daily basis. And so I kind of mentioned this earlier, but truly, this one thing a day was the key to my accomplishment, because I kind of, in a healthy way, was obsessed with it. Meaning, in 2 years, I did not skip a single day of doing at least one thing every day to move me towards accomplishing that dream. And so some days it was only 15 minutes, other days it was hours, but I really was committed. And so that's the truth. Wouldn't you agree, Janine? Like, that's where everyone gets to where they're going, is by consistent effort. There's this quote that says, successful people do consistently what average people only do occasionally. And that's so true with everything in our life. If you want to make a change, then you have to consistently approach it, make a habit of doing it every single day. Consistency is like, I could talk about it
Yeah.
all day, because I think it's the number one thing that makes a difference.
Yeah, and I can say that I totally 100% agree. And that's the secret of Uppercase's success. Like when
Yeah.
I started a magazine in 2009, the thing that I knew that was true of magazines is that it had to be out at a regular schedule. Like that is the
Oh,
one essence for me, was like, okay, it's going to be on print, paper, and it has to come out on a regular schedule. And as long as I got those two things, then I've got a magazine. And I just committed that, yes, no matter what's happening, I've promised that this magazine is going to come out every quarter, and it's just going to come out, and just doing it and doing it and doing it. And I've done it for 57 issues now and 14 years. And it's just that consistency, doing it, committing to it, and doing it. And that has been the secret of the success, is that longevity. Is just because I'm committed and I'm doing it, and I love it. But that framework of it has to be done on paper and
yeah.
every quarter, like that is it. That's just how you do it.
Yes.
And even if it's your surface pattern design and it's a little bit more nebulous, you're just starting out and you
Yeah,
don't have someone else telling you what those consistent items are, you can create them for you, and you just believe it, and you hold yourself accountable to it.
absolutely. I
Yeah.
actually don't think that there's anything as an overnight success, because every overnight success usually has years of consistent effort put in. We just found out about them recently.
Mm-hmm. So
Okay,
true.
make bad artwork. Abby wants to talk about
Yeah.
this. There is such a fear of failure. And I think that social media has contributed to this, because we approach a blank sheet of paper, right? And we feel this immense pressure to make something beautiful. And spoiler alert, that doesn't happen at the very beginning. It really takes a little bit of time to get what you have in your mind to play out on paper in the way that you want it to. But there's no shortcut to that. It's literally just trial and error, and coming to the paper with a willingness to play, a willingness to make bad art, because who cares? So I play all these tricks on myself, right? Like, I'm going to create something and I'm not going to show it publicly, or I'm going to throw away the first 3 pieces of paper, or I'm not going to even look at the page. I'm just going to start marking it up. Like, there's some ways that we just have to like get get going, like get out of our own way and start making marks. Um, there's also, I think, similar to this fear of making bad artwork. I'm sure you all are familiar with that little video called The Gap by Ira Glass.
Mm-hmm.
And I love this theory so much. It basically shows you that there's a visualization of what you want your work to look like. And then there's a gap between that and the actual outcome. And so many people fall off in the gap and they don't ever make it. They're like right before the breakthrough, but they fall off in the gap because they're not learning to trust their intuition, trust their ability to create something. And so you have to make it across the gap. But I think the reassuring part is knowing that everyone has that gap. Every artist and every, expression of art has the gap from when they begin to where they actually arrive. For me, this came early on. So 2011, I basically spent a year learning Adobe Illustrator, which is ridiculous. It shouldn't have taken me a year, but I was piecemealing together the entire world to learn it. So it took me a year to make my first repeating pattern. And then I spent a year in just deep creation mode. Nobody knew what I was doing. I wasn't showing my work. I was just creating from my heart. And through that year, I made about 100 patterns. And from that, I took out about 30 that I loved, and they became my first portfolio. And so in this time, there's this real sense of like, oh, I need to rush it. Like, I just need to arrive already. I'm missing opportunities all over the place. And early on, I felt this pressure and I thought, let's just change that. That's a fear-based approach. An abundance-based approach to this would be that the perfect opportunity will be waiting for me when I arrive, and it won't be there if I arrive too early. And that just helped me settle into that year of creation. Now, it may not take you all a year, but for me, it was really important to just test, like, do you like working with pens or pencils or paint or scanning or photographs, or what all of these different techniques are? If you're doing like an iPad Pro or tracing paper, or you have a drawing tablet, like there's just this exploration time, and it's so fun. In fact, I would say most of the people I know who have this kind of early work stage, it's some of their best memories. It's like the favorite time of their career because there were no deadlines, there were no briefs, there were no feedback. Like, you're just creating what you want to see come alive. And it's really special. It should be embraced. And bad work should be expected in there, but it's part of the process. So yeah. What do you think about that, Janine?
Yeah. Well, and
Okay.
it put bad in air quotes because um, doing work isn't a bad thing at all. Doing work is what you need
Let's
to be
rephrase
doing,
that, like
right? But I
work
mean,
that you don't
yeah.
love,
But
work
what
that
I
you don't
mean
love.
is, yeah, but doing that other stuff, whether you don't like the way it turns out aesthetically, it wasn't bad work. It was work that you did that's going to get you to the next place, and it's all very vital work to do.
Mhm.
And I love that video about the gap. I shared it recently with my son because we were doing an art project and he was getting frustrated because it wasn't looking like what he wanted to look like, right? And that's just the classic feeling where you have the aesthetic taste, you know what you want it to be, but you need to spend the time and do all that work, and some of it's bad works, but you'll get there eventually. And I think people need to be grateful that they have that feeling of the gap between what you do right
Yeah.
now and what you wish to do, because if you didn't have that, you wouldn't have that motivation to keep pushing yourself forward. You wouldn't have an opportunity to keep growing and to keep exploring and experimenting to get to that next point.
Yeah.
And then when you do get to that next point, if you're like creative and curious type like me, then you've already seen further than that and you want to go to the next place. So um, I think that's just the part of being a creative person, is that you're always kind of pulling yourself forward. You're getting to the next point, but then you still have a vision that leading you even further in your creativity. And so you
Yeah.
just keep going. And that's the fun part of it. Like, that's the journey and discovery part of it. So
Yeah, Susan
I love
says,
it.
what is bad? What we mean by
Yeah.
bad is that what you have, the essence of what you want to create in your mind, you're having difficulty bringing it to life on paper. And, this happens to me still 100%. Like I'll have a feeling or an aesthetic that I really want to bring to life. And sometimes I struggle with just like, it's just not looking like I know I want it to look. So you have the vision, but your skill set is playing catch up. And that's just part of it. That's the gap. You have the vision, your skills need to catch up to it. And so you'll make work that, you might not be super proud to show sometimes, but you will get there as long as you keep trying.
Mhm, mhm.
Number 6, like minds, is another one that I'm super passionate about. This is surrounding yourself with people who understand what you're doing. They speak your language. They understand how to encourage and support you. And so, Janine, I don't know about you, but like, I don't actually have anybody in my day-to-day life that does what I do. And if they know what surface pattern design is, it's because I've told them. So I can't go like talk about negotiating a contract's territory, or I can't go talk about using the rotate tool with anybody in my day-to-day life. Like, what about you all? Do you have someone in your
Yeah.
life that speaks that language? And so I think this becomes more and more important as you get into a more specialized field, because you need that group of people who understand what you are doing. They speak your language, but most importantly, they also have the growth mindset. They see where you're headed. They know how to help you get there. They understand this big goal, because when I had this big goal of becoming a fabric designer, I flat out felt silly saying it out loud. I mean, I could not have been further away. And so I told my mom and my husband that was all, because I felt ridiculous. And I can't even tell you how long it took me, when you're at the doctor and you're filling in like your occupation, like the first time that I wrote artist, I was like, I wrote it. And so it just takes some time, and it's so important to just be around people who understand how to help you. And so for us, this is community. Oftentimes it's online community, because I live in a small town and I don't have anybody here. So we
Mhm.
turn to community, and just really being intentional about what rooms you step into, and whether they're virtual or physical, and who you share your biggest goals with. Make sure that they know how to support you.
Yeah, yeah. I know that's a big part of immersion. So perhaps you could, for people who haven't taken immersion, how do you manifest that community when you're logging in and you're learning through you, but how do you
Yeah.
participate with the
Oh
community
my
and interact
goodness.
with other people in immersion?
We're pretty excited. Okay, so we're rolling out a brand new community platform this year that is a game changer. It is incredible. It's beautiful, but also really easy to use, and post videos and pictures and connect with people. And, it's pretty special. But the community ends up being a huge part of the course. And I think that sometimes this is people's biggest surprise. So, anyways, we have the option of putting yourself into what we call a study group. So that takes the big group and puts you in like a little pod of 6 to 8 other people who are in a bunch of similar attributes to you, like similar time zone or same time zone, similar location, similar stage of business, and can meet at the same time. And then you come together and meet 8 times once a week for 8 weeks. Oftentimes the study groups end up staying together for years and continuing to meet, but you're required to, you're supposed to meet for the first 8 weeks. And so that's one way that we really build connections with each other. But as you come into the community, you have like 3 things that you're supposed to do. And one of the first ones is introduce yourself. And so there are tons of people, talking with you and supporting you and going and checking out your website and stuff. But part of what we do is bring up what we call the love squad. So I have 8 people on my team. We kind of work year round together. But during immersion for 12 weeks, we bring in 25 expert alumni. We call them the Love Squad. And so all 25 of them have been through the course. They are experts at the course, and they have had immense success since coming through it. And so they come in to support and answer questions. as you can imagine, teaching Adobe Illustrator, we get a lot of questions. We get a lot of really technical questions. And so really every question gets answered within 24 hours, oftentimes much quicker than that. And you get feedback on your work. And it's just like, it's very much alive. It's very much alive and welcoming and celebratory and fun.
Mhm. And I know you've had some groups that, well, even in the chat here, someone's mentioning that they still meet one time a week since Immersion in 2021.
Oh, I love
And I know
that.
some have created their own like art collectives and have collaborated
We have
in
some
professional
one group
ways.
came out with a magazine together. It's pretty cool to see people put their heads together. Yeah.
Yeah, it's lovely because then they're connected. It was like kindred spirits, like-minded
Yeah,
and kindred
for
spirits.
sure.
So that's a lovely aspect of immersion and the service pattern design community. Um, so someone's asking, Irina, saying if will I be in a group just with people from the UK if I'm from there, and
Yeah. So
time
we group
differences and
you.
sort of things.
We group
Yeah.
you on time zone, and then to the best of our ability, we also group you on location in that time zone.
Hmm.
Yeah.
That sounds like a good idea. A lot of complexity for you to figure that out. I don't know how you
It
do
is
it, but
it's we have a whole system now. We've been doing it for several years, but it's a pretty epic spreadsheet. Yeah.
yeah. Yeah. So from your list of tips here, let's pick one more and then we can answer those questions that are in the Q&A box there.
Okay, so your path is unique to you, and there's room for you is two I'm going to put together because I think that this taps into imposter syndrome and also like that fear of, well, who do I think I am? Look at what everyone else is doing. There's no room for me, right? And so someone told me early on in my career that there was room for me, and it just impacted me and my mindset. And I'm like, was able to step into that. And there absolutely is room for you too. We managed this question like, well, isn't the market saturated? I don't know if you hear that, Janine. But I always think it's a little bit funny because, to my point, who in your real life has ever even heard of surface pattern design? Yet, our job, especially surface design, right? Like, our job is to make artwork for products. And so, how many, like every industry, every company, every country, there is the opportunity is so incredibly immense, and so there's absolutely room for you. But I also think it's a mindset, like, do you believe that there's room for you? Because even in the most saturated market, there's always room at the top. So what, you have nothing to lose. Your path is unique to you is because I see so many people struggle after looking at other people's successes. And I think, our social media algorithms are to blame for this a little bit because we just come on and we see all this beautiful stuff and all these people that are already, light years ahead of us, which never changes, by the way. There will always be people light years ahead of you, but there will always also be people behind you. And so I think it's just really important to remember, like, kind of keep your eyes on your own paper. Your version of success is different than my version of success, but that doesn't mean that once we get there, it's less or better, better or worse, right? It's our version of success. And then my path is different than your path. And that's all good. That's all okay, right? So that was part of what we did in the workshop this past week, which is still available. You can fill out the workshop comes with a workbook, and you can fill out your own path to success and stand really confidently in it. I think confidence in our path and our definition of success is really important. Otherwise, we're always turning other people's paths and other people's version of success into our own.
Mhm. Yeah, I think it's important that people have their own internal compass and their own destination that they're trying to achieve. Don't model your career off of somebody else's because then
Yeah.
that's so hard to do. Like um, you might end up doing things that are not really true to you if you're just trying to like follow somebody else's path, right? So
Yeah.
I think it's important to be centered on what drives you forward, and it shouldn't be just emulating someone else's success. It should be creating your own version of what works for you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, I like the comment in the chat here. Art is never saturated. There's always room for new art, new photography, new movies, new publications. It's endless, always in demand forever and ever. That's what I hope too, and that's why my magazine keeps on going too. It's because there's always room for more creative
Yeah.
output, and creative interpretation and different ways of thinking and the ways of looking at things in the world. So
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So there's a couple questions. They're sort of on the different ends of the spectrum. So Cindy in the Q&A is asking about, she's new. She has, I think she says 1 year of experience. So she's wondering if she should disclose that experience level when she's submitting her work. And we're both shaking our head. No, it
No,
doesn't really matter. What matters
year
is
doesn't matter.
the
And
work you've
to that
created.
point, it doesn't, we also, I was just answering this question yesterday, like, I don't have an art degree, so I feel like I'm an imposter. And I'm like, I don't have an art degree. Do you, Janine?
I do not. I have a diploma from an art college.
So I have never once been asked if I have an art degree in any of my professional workings. No one. I also don't have a business plan. Never been asked to show it either. And I also have never been asked how long you've been doing it, not from someone who wants to work with me, because it doesn't matter. Also, nobody asks how old you are. Anybody here worried that they're too young or too old? Like, one thing I love about this career is that there's no discrimination. Like, it doesn't matter where you live, how old you are, how much experience you have, do you have an education, because your work speaks for itself. Your work is really the only thing that matters. And so make beautiful work. It doesn't matter how long you've been at it.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I see that all the time in Uppercase magazine and even in the entries from the Surface Pattern Design is they're from all ages.
Yeah.
I know someone who signed up to Immersion already and she's super excited and she's 76 and a half years old and she's just
Yes.
super eager that she's signed up and she's going to do something with the archive of work that she's created.
That's
She shared
amazing.
some of it with me, and it's lovely black and white drawings. And she said, "Do you think I can turn
Wow.
this into surface pattern?" And it's like, "Oh yeah,
Ready to go.
it's great." So that's
So
super exciting.
we have many people in their 70s. We have also teens in the class. And we also really talk about, we talk about creating a career in surface design so much. And I want to break that down because there are really 5 different types of people who come into the course. But I talk about a career because I consider that really the top level. But I know it's kind of like college. They teach from the highest level, knowing that people are going to go into a million different ways with the knowledge that they learn. So we have just curious creatives, like people who are not interested in making a career, but they do want to tap into that creativity and just learn how to make products with art on them. And so we have the curious creative, we have the hobbyist who really just wants to do it right on the side. But then we have the side hustler, who's the person who wants to make a little bit of income, but they likely have a full-time job or they're full-time parent or something like that. Then we have the career, that's level 4. And then we have like industry leader. And so I teach from the very top, knowing that our curious creatives and hobbyists and side hustlers will get everything they need along the way. Amanda, I see your question. So Amanda says, are you
Sure.
planning on adding a course for designers that have been at this for a while but not finding success? It would be nice to find a course where you don't learn Illustrator, but more of a portfolio building and finding your first big deals. So Amanda, I promise you, I'm not just saying but this is it. This is the course. And so what I would encourage you to do is go talk to some of the other people who come in the course with Illustrator experience. About 50% of our students are brand new. They'll be opening the program for the first time. And about 50% of them have been working in Illustrator for 10 or 20 years. I was just talking to Kara Cummings. She's an alumni yesterday, and she said she had 20 years of experience, and she came in thinking she was going to breeze through the first couple of modules because she knows Illustrator. And she said, Bonnie, I did not know Illustrator, meaning everyone who has experience comes in and refines their workflow and finds all of these little tips and tricks. And so if you are completely proficient, you have a different assignment. You are working on creating the artwork, because by week 3, we're on to full collections, portfolios, pitching, already said collections, portfolios, pitching, licensing, and creating an entire career. So there's nothing else you need. This is the course. There is we have a page, we call it the Celebrate page, but it's at surfacedesignsuccess.com, or you can get to it through the homepage that Janine is sharing. And it's all of our alumni. Well, it's not all of them, but it's about 400 of our alumni stories. And you can search them through different attributes. And so one of them is level of experience coming in. So go to that kind of pull down and read the stories of the people who had experience coming in to the course. Honestly, they're the ones who really hit the ground running and come out like really ready to go. Our very beginners usually take several months to get to that place. And so let's see, Erin Kendall would also be a great person for you to read her story. She came in as a top seller on Spoonflower, very proficient. And what she was able to do after using Immersion as like her catalyst has been incredible. So go dive into stories. And the other thing I would say is, we're not really covering exactly what's in the Immersion course today, but if you go over to the course info, page, there's a module pull down. You can pull down each of those modules and get like an in-depth overview of everything that's put into each module, because it actually is like art school. I mean, it kind of is like a college degree. Like you will come out knowing how to completely run, turn this into an entire career and have a business.
Yes, I agree. I've seen it from the results, and like I personally haven't taken immersion because I would love to, but I'm just so busy. I
Well, you don't
can't.
really need it,
But
Janine.
some, well, I do because I do because my Illustrator knowledge is very rudimentary, but I would love to take it, and I will someday.
Hmm.
Not this year, but it's going to be on my to-do list. But I have seen from the portfolio development side of things,
Yeah.
and people creating collections. Part of my like the bonus if people sign up via my link is that I do a portfolio consultation with 20 people. It's just a random draw. But over the past few years, I've had the privilege of meeting up with lots of Bonnie's students, and they show me what they've been working on during the course. And sometimes they've been in service design for a while, and sometimes this is all brand new. And we go over and look and see what they've created, and they have the starts of their collections and the different colorways and themes and everything. It's amazing what people can create in
Yeah.
a short amount of time.
Yeah.
And then since I've been doing this for a while now, and as Bonnie's been teaching it since 2018, I've seen these same people and seeing their portfolios continue to evolve and to be added to, and to see how they keep they keep up with their skill, but also with um, how prolific they are in
Yeah.
creating new work. And
Yeah.
I can see some people that I talked to a few years ago. Um, it's an immense change that they've gone through with what they've learned, and the portfolio that they started when they were like in the student mode versus what they've done a year later. It's
Right?
amazing to see how
It's
people
amazing.
keep going with it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's wonderful. Yeah. And I have to say, I'm the beneficiary of it when I see it all in my magazine. So I'm very grateful to the high level
I have to say it's pretty
skill.
fun for me to see names that I recognize. Yeah.
Yeah, it's gratifying for sure.
Yeah.
Roberta says it's way better than what I got out of art school in the 80s. Yeah,
Yes, good.
yeah. Yeah, I'm a product of art school from the 90s, and that wasn't so great either. We never talked about surface bound design as an option ever. And I took things
Interesting.
like silk screening too, and you'd think that they would have told us how you could, do repeat surface design on fabric or something, but no, it was never
Hmm.
an inkling at all.
Yeah.
Anywho, so that's why courses like yours are great because you get introduced to things that you don't normally
Mm.
find in kind of the mainstream education.
Yeah.
So we just have a couple minutes left. So if anyone has another question, just please drop it down in there. And I've shared a few links about where you can get more information. And I'll post the replay as soon as I can. There's my links. Um, so Bonnie, is there anything, I know some people have, they return to immersion more than once, which is an option for people too, but what's new in particular for immersion 2023,
Oh, yeah. Okay.
other than
We
the
have,
community? Yeah.
yeah, we have a couple of things. So the way that the course works is that when you decide to join us, your family, you get lifetime access to your course. So if you join 2023 immersion, you get 2023 immersion, you get lifetime access to that. But if you want to come back in 2024 and get the brand new course and all of the things that go with it, you as an alumni get 75% off, which is really incredible. And so when you come back as an alumni, you get like an alumni badge in the community. We just really honor and love our alum, but you also get access to obviously the new course, the new bonuses, and access to the Love Squad, our support team of 25, access to all of the live Q&As. There's 3 a week and asking questions and all of that. But this year, one of the things we're most excited about is a course workbook. So there's an entire box experience that students get. Included is a 288-page full color course workbook
Ooh.
for students to have in hand as they go through the lessons. And this is like, I can't wait for students to have this in hand. It's
So you're actually
pretty,
sending that to students?
yeah, students get
Wow.
the course
Ooh,
workbook
nice.
and a
I
box
saw the
that has,
pictures of it on Instagram. I thought, wow, this is amazing.
it's pretty amazing. I had a moment. I cried when I saw it the first time.
My
And you
goodness.
get a whole bunch of stuff in that box as well. So you get rip and tear envelopes for every module and stickers that you get to badge on as you progress through it. You get a graduation certificate, and 3 boxes get golden tickets, which give you all
Mm.
these like Willy Wonka type surprises. And so we have a lot of fun with it. The workbook is going to be a really incredible tool for students this year. And then we also have a new module this week. It's called Orientation Week. And so we've added a week at the beginning to give people some time to gather their resources, get their box experience. And then this new module is all based on gathering inspiration. So before we dive headfirst into Illustrator, you're going to just pause and go out and collect the things that you want to reference as you design. And so that's brand new, and we're pretty excited about it too.
Mm. Well, maybe I'll just register now too and just find the time because I really do want to improve my surface design skills for like I just use it for the magazine, right? The when I make the spine
Yeah.
patterns for the the masthead and stuff and um, I have an open invitation from Wyndham to do another collection and
Yes.
there's like so many opportunities and possibilities. It's just a matter of, first of all, I
Well,
need to find the
Janine,
time because I'm a little busy, but also I do want to up level my illustrator skills because I always do things the same way, and I knew there's vastly improved ways of using Illustrator that you would teach me. So yeah, Margaret's
Janine,
telling me I should do it.
if
I
you're
should just do it.
serious, we can
Yeah,
work something out. I would love to have you in it. Yes.
yeah, yeah. Well,
Yeah.
everyone knows from my newsletters and stuff, I've been a little bit overcommitted for the past few months dealing with stuff, but it's nice to have the idea there to push me forward. Like I said, the path, looking forward to what I want to do next, and
Mhm.
um, yeah, that's on my thing. So I should just do it, right? Yeah.
I mean, Yeah, I think so.
I should
What
just
do
do
you
it.
guys think?
They think I should do it. Yeah, I know it'd be fun. It would
Mhm.
be fun. Yeah.
You
So
would
it just
be,
if
oh my
someone like
goodness,
me,
Janine,
like,
with
yeah,
your current skill set, you would hit the ground running.
yeah.
Yeah,
Okay. Well, I'll find an extra hour in my days and my weeks, and I will do it.
that's all you need.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Thanks for the encouragement. It's great. I hope that lots of people here who, there's obviously many people here have already taken immersion and they're doing it again, and um, such lovely comments. And thank you for all your beautiful things that you've said about Bonnie and me. That's so nice.
Love chatting
So
with
we'll have to sign off because I'm sure you have another thing to do next. But thank you so much, Bonnie. And again, I'll just share this back with everybody who wants it. And the download is for free there. And I just wanted to make a mention that people can sign up for, I have a surface pattern design newsletter list, which is just sort of a not temporary, but an occasional one I'm going to do leading up to the surface pattern design guide coming out in April. And so I'll talk a bit more about Bonnie in there and share a few more things about your tips. Um, but also an invitation to the people who enter the surface pattern design guide. Since I had to, not include everybody, I've gotten a lot of requests that people would like me to take a look and let them know, why they didn't get in. Um, and I feel bad having to say no. So what I'm going to do is I'll send out an email to everyone who entered and is on the list, and I'm going to do a random draw for about 5 different reviews. And so I'll just pick random names, and then I will give those people portfolio reviews. So that's what I'm going to do. So just stay tuned. I'll let you. I'll get that information out in the email next week. But just so people know that I'm aware that lots of people want to have that opportunity, so I'm just gonna do it in a random way rather than uh, some other way. So, but thank you for the opportunity to do that. And then also as part of my bonus with Bonnie, that I'll be offering one-on-one portfolio consultations and portfolio reviews. And 20 people will be drawn from anyone who uses my link to sign up. And then also do a group call with everybody who signs up, and we'll have a chat and look at your portfolios and answer your questions and set you off in the right direction. So, all right.
Thank you so much for having me, Janine.
Thank you, Bonnie.